Hello, my friends. Are you struggling to declutter? This is very much geared towards the person who does not feel that you are born naturally organized. That was me. I used to feel so stuck and so overwhelmed by the stuff in my house, and I literally just didn't know where to start. And on top of that, every single time that I did try starting, I get overwhelmed. And I had a habit of making a bigger mess than before. And it was really bad after I got married because I would be like, I am getting organized. I'd pull everything out. I'd try and I would get really bogged down by the details right here and all this. Uh, and 90% of the mess was still laying out. And then my husband would come home from his hard job and he would have to help me put it away. I would just, by that time, I was so overwhelmed with making all the decisions and trying to figure it out. And it seemed like there's just something wrong with me. I share all that to let you know that you're not alone. So today, and I'm doing this live because I'm getting really tired of the fake AI content that is being passed along. So, you guys, you see me stutter, but you know that I'm the real deal. But on today's session, I do want to talk about the three biggest reasons why we struggle. If we're not naturally born organized, why we might struggle with decluttering and how you can avoid these traps or break free from them and make real progress. So, in case we are meeting for the very first time, my name is April Bragg, and I'm a clarity coach. I help overwhelmed entrepreneurs declutter their homes, their lives, their minds, and also their businesses to create a business that works for them instead of against them. And I really just believe that I value freedom, and I think that freedom, when we learn how to focus, then we can increase our freedom, we can increase our profit. But so many times it's clutter in our home that is distracting us from other areas of our life. So, ready for some practical solutions? I am going to help you avoid the three main traps that cause us to get stuck in the decluttering process. All right, if you're joining us live, I would love to know where you're joining me from and what you're at. I am in the United States. It's December 23rd. I'm getting ready for Christmas. In fact, I went live a day early today because I am looking forward to spending some extra holiday time with my family. And so that's why we're flexing a little bit this week. We might keep on doing it on Mondays. Monday just seems like a great day to talk about these things and to get a head start on our weeks. But number one, here's the first trap. It's perfectionism. As in, when we're trying to declutter, we're trying to organize, we're trying to get it just right, or we're trying to implement the exact perfect system, the exact perfect plan. We are trying to buy containers to organize our stuff ahead of time. And this perfectionism mindset just, we use it against ourselves on the backside because when the system doesn't work, then we think there's something wrong with us when questioning, wait, maybe that system is not for me. So, have you ever felt like you can't even start the decluttering because it's not the perfect time because you need to set aside a whole week for it because yes, perfectionism is a real trap, and I kept on putting off the decluttering because it seemed like, well, it led into trap number two. Trap number two is the one that I struggled with the most, but I'll get to that in just a second. But this trap number one, what I would do is that I would wait until all the stars are aligned and I tried to do too much at once. And so it's like, well, if we're going to do this, then we should start here. We should start with the kitchen and the bedroom and the laundry room and the mud room and the living room. Oh, you guys, the perfectionism mindset is really hard to break because it feels like if we don't go big, then we might as well go home. And I really did not appreciate that progress is going to beat perfectionism every single time, as in start small and make changes that stick. Oh, I did perfectionism so many times when I was trying to set up new habits. Like, oh, I feel like I'm struggling and I want to be more productive as a person. Okay, well, let me do this. Let me start getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Now, granted, I was getting up at 7 o'clock before and I was already tired, but I would try to get up at 5 o'clock because it seems like all the successful people get up at 5 o'clock without going to bed earlier either. That is a recipe for disaster. So, do you feel like perfectionism gets in the way of your progress and has you getting stuck? If that's your case, give me a number one in the chat so I'll know that perfectionism is your struggle. But let me talk about trap number two. Trap number two is this. Oh, before we move on to trap number two, let me just give you a quick little solution to trap number one. This is how I broke out of perfectionism. I started biting off way smaller amounts. Like, let's just declutter the pens, as in, let's just go through and find out which pens are working and which pens are not, and just throw those away. Don't even tackle the whole junk drawer. Let me just clean up the pens right now. And then let's create a home for the pens. So, the way to step out of perfectionism is to be content with smaller bits of progress. It's like do those things, but also appreciate the fact that you did it that way. Okay. So, trap number two that has us feeling stuck is overwhelm. This is the one that I really struggled with. Like I said, I kept on trying to do too much. I kept on not even just trying to find the perfect system, but trying to declutter it all at one time. And I didn't have a logical way to declutter. I didn't know, like, ever since then, I've developed the declutter fast method, and that's something that I share on a workshop. And in fact, I'm doing a workshop soon. If you want to get signed up for that, I'll put the link in the description. But it's a free workshop where I explain how to declutter any area in 15 minutes or less without overwhelm, without falling into perfectionism, without getting distracted, even if you're not a naturally born organized person. So, one of the things that has us stuck though is we're overwhelmed and we don't even know where to start. And so, when we're overwhelmed, it's like it defeats us before we even get started. It feels like we're trying to climb Mount Everest and we don't even have climbing equipment. And so, is overwhelm your problem? It's almost like the more stuff that surrounds us, the more clutter surrounds us, the more our motivation and our will to live kind of leaves us. Have you ever had the experience of going somewhere new and it's nice and it's organized and you just feel this surge of energy? Yeah. Or have you ever had the experience of maybe a housekeeper coming and cleaning up, or an organizer, professional organizer coming and doing it for you? And you walk in and you're like, oh, this feels like a fresh start. This is also why I wanted to talk about this during this season, because we're all, as 2025 comes around, we're looking for that fresh start. And our homes are a beautiful way to set us up for success for the entire year. Because if we can make a sanctuary out of our home instead of it feeling like it's a stress zone, like it's a pile of to-dos all the time, then all of that time, all that energy that is being absorbed by the clutter and the endless to-do lists in our home, those can go to more profitable activities in our lives. Does that make sense? Okay, so trap number two is falling into overwhelm by just looking and just seeing all of the mess as a whole, by looking at laundry piles and just being overwhelmed and thinking, I'll never get to the bottom of it. When to overcome overwhelm, we literally have to step back a little bit and say, this is something that can be better one tiny area at a time. And again, this is why I teach that we need to declutter the fast method because it teaches us to focus on one area at a time. And one of the best ways to start is to pick high impact areas. Like for me, when my kids were younger, the high impact area was the kitchen because we were in there at least 3 times a day for meals. If we were doing snacks on top of that, we were in there like 5 times a day. And so I started there. I concentrated all my energy in the kitchen and I just did not worry about the laundry and the rest of the rooms because I figured if I could just figure out how to manage this space, then I'd be able to take those principles to other spaces. So, for you, what would be the high impact area in your home that you'd want to focus on that feels like it would give you the most bang for your buck? So that's trap number two. And then this is a big one. Trap number three, when you're getting stuck and you feel like you can't declutter and you are trying to start, avoid starting here. I do not think that this is the beginner starting zone. In fact, I say this area for last. And I was so much more confident when I tackled this area towards the end of my decluttering journey. And that is the sentimental attachment items. So, especially if you are a sentimental person, or you are a sensitive person, or a highly empathetic person, or emotional person, sentimental attachment to items will be a an obstacle to decluttering. And so I always recommend we cut our decluttering teeth on easier areas, as in things that don't feel so high pressure. Again, in the workshop, I do explain how to use the declutter fast method to handle even the sentimental items. So make sure if this is something that you struggle with, I'd love to hear it in the chat. Is number three, sentimental attachment, something that you struggle with? And this is especially an area that you'll want to bring because in the workshop, I'll also open up a place where you can ask your question live and get specific help to your unique situation. But just for a quick tip on this sentimental item, we want to measure our items in are they bringing us, like, especially if you're sentimental about a lot of stuff, pay attention. Wait, does this item evoke a positive emotion or a negative emotion? Like, how much of the stuff am I keeping out of guilt instead of out of pure enjoyment and the pleasure that this item brings? That can be a real game changer, realizing that you don't have to hang on to items out of guilt. Um, One second. For me, when I fully gave myself permission, well, when I finally came up with my own definition of clutter, and my own definition of clutter is this: anything that is slowing me down from reaching my future goals. Then that presented my sentimental items in a totally different light. And then I was like, well, are these things helping me? Are they, when I look at them, do I enjoy them? Or am I keeping them because somebody gave it to me? And if they visit my house, they're going to be looking for it and then they're going to ask me about it. And I'm just going to have to keep on dusting this thing to infinity just because I'm keeping it so that somebody else can see it every time they visit my house. If that's you, do not feel shame about it. I'm just calling it out because I've heard it more than one time. And we've got to ask ourselves, wait, are we creating our homes for other people? Or are we creating our homes for us? And maybe we're not even being fair to that person. Like people that truly love us, they don't want to give us things that burden us and that make more work for us. And they may not even realize that their gifts, which they were hoping to, I assume, and I hope, they were hoping to give us to spread joy are becoming a weight or a burden or something that doesn't fit us this season of life. So, yeah, we talk a lot about navigating sentimental attachments in my private membership. But if this is your struggle, make sure you sign up for the workshop and we can talk more about it there too. But again, we do not need to keep anything in our home that brings guilt or reinforces a negative association. That is not how we turn our homes into sanctuaries instead of stress zones. That is how we increase the stress. So, as I close up, are there any questions? Which trap seems like it stops you in your decluttering goals? Is it trap number one, perfectionism? Is it trap number two, falling victim to overwhelm? Or is it trap number three, getting bogged down by the sentimental attachment of things? And which area of your home would make the greatest impact if you focused your time and attention and energy on decluttering that area? Oh, here's a good question. What's the most sentimental item that you've held on to, but you know you need to let go of? Somebody recently told me the most sentimental item they've held on to that they finally felt confident to let go of was their wedding dress from a divorce, a marriage that ended in divorce. And she's like, I don't know why I was hanging on to it. I just thought, I guess that it was valuable. But when I looked at it, I realized, no, it's just taking up a lot of space and it's not making me happy to look at it at all. I can just let it go. Give it to somebody for whom there's no negative association and bless them with it. That's the kind of freedom that we deserve. That's the kind of decluttering confidence that we deserve to develop so that we can create homes and lives and businesses that benefit us, bless others. But if you are ready to take the next step and finally create space in your life for what matters most to you, then I do want to invite you to my free workshop, From Chaos to Calm: How to Create the Home You Love. So then I'll dive into the deeper strategies of how to overcome the perfectionism, the overwhelm, the sentimental attachment, how to get real results. Um, I will make sure that you have my declutter fast framework. So you learn how to declutter any area in 15 minutes or less without creating a bigger mess. And this 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 method is so simple that I have taught it to children. I've worked with children and helped them declutter their toys. And afterwards, they thanked me for giving them more time to play. That's the power of just finding a simple decluttering method that works for you. So, If that sounds like something you need, I'd love to see you on the workshop. Make sure you click on that link. But remember this, decluttering isn't just about making space. It's about making room for the life that you actually want to live. So let me know your thoughts on this video. Let me know if it inspires you to use decluttering as a tool to create more space for the life that you want to live. Let's see if we can make 2025 a year that feels spacious and gives you the ability to have more time and more energy to pursue your goals. All right. Oh, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss these videos. Bye bye.